Anyway, I'm so proud to introduce the next person. Bill OBrien is in his 5th term as a member of the New Hampshire House of Representatives, and I very proudly served with him a number of those years. And he was the Speaker in 2010 to 2012 and is currently the Republican leader of the New Hampshire House. The Republicans have the majority. Should have been Speaker, but somehow along the way, it ended up being the Republican leader. During Representative OBrien's term as New Hampshire Speaker, and following unabated growth in the state spending going back to before World War II, the New Hampshire House eliminated a budget deficit of almost 18% entirely by spending reductions, while also eliminating or reducing over a dozen state taxes. And that sounds pretty amazing, but here's an even more amazing thing that will be near and dear to many of your hearts. In 2011, New Hampshire, under his leadership, returned all federal funds given to set up a state Obamacare exchange. Representative OBrien is an attorney. We won't hold that against him. He holds a Juris Doctorate from Suffolk University Law School and a master's in intellectual property law from the University of New Hampshire School of Law. He's practiced law. He's been a husband for 42 years. Now, some people, like to say he's hard to get along with. Well, evidently he mustn't be too hard to get along with, because Roxanne has been his faithful partner for 42 years, and I think that in itself is a record. They have 4 children and 4 grandchildren. He's a family man. He's a true conservative patriot, and so I proudly introduce you to Representative William OBrien, former Speaker of the New Hampshire House.
If you can't hear me, okay, I'll try to speak louder. And I think I have to start off by thanking my companion of 42 years. Thank you. And I'm so honored to be here today, and I want to thank Fran and all the organizers of the 603 Alliance for... Is it on? Microphone. That was probably... Any better? Yes. Good. Well, sorry, and I am honored to be here today, and there's so many great speakers. I was listening to Congressman King. I have to tell you though, when I was listening to him, and he was saying, how we deal with Islamic fascism and everything, it was a very nuanced approach. I think I'd have a little bit of different approach. It'd be the George Patton approach. We win, you lose. So many problems, I think, lend themselves to simple solutions. When I was Speaker, we were told you can't get rid of that $1 billion deficit without spending increases. And we said, no, we'll just find out how much money's coming in and spend no more. It's that easy. Government can be that easy, folks. There are so many distinguished speakers today, and so many friends, and so many people that as I look out over here, I'd love to acknowledge you. So many patriots here who have worked tirelessly for freedom. But I really want to acknowledge one group of people, and that is all of you. It's the New Hampshire conservative activists who are here today. It is because of the chance to speak to you that I was so glad to get this invitation. And I don't speak to you as the former New Hampshire House Speaker, and I don't speak to you as the elected head of the Republican House Caucus this year. I'm speaking to you because I hope to be like you when I finish up my term and continue to be a Republican activist. That's who members of the Republican House Caucus should be, is just activists. And like many of you, over the years, I've heard the establishment Republicans, and we know who they are. They're those who get elected to federal office and then go Washington on us. And they're those who go up to Concord as House members and think that they have to please liberal propaganda outlets like the Concord Monitor or the Nashua Telegraph, or the Keene Sentinel. And those Republican establishment members tell us time and again that we must nominate someone they will call a moderate, and we know to be liberal, if we're going to win in November. And when they've convinced enough of us to put principles aside in favor of expediency, the establishment thinks that its job is done. They have proved to their fellow cocktail party attendees in Washington that they can control the rabid conservatives and leave open the way for continued growth in big government that benefits them. And then after the moderate Republicans are again nominated, the liberal media turns to its job, and its job is to promote the latest Democrat disaster in a general election, and once again rob us of the chance to return America to greatness. So I'm here to ask you, are you committed this cycle? Are you committed that we're going to return to the country a nominee, a conservative nominee from New Hampshire? Are you going to demand? Are you going to demand of whoever we give our votes to that they be committed to the Republican principle of limited, affordable government? Will you make sure that the person we nominate understands that each individual is his own sovereign, supreme to the state? And will you demand that they support our inalienable right of self-protection? And will you make sure that they will work tirelessly for a culture of life, committed to the right of every child, born or unborn, to life? These are the conservative convictions we share. We need to stand together to ensure that a conservative candidate, presidential candidate, joins us in understanding these principles, and that person prevails in the presidential primary. Look it, conservatives are likely going to win in Iowa and South Carolina, but moderate presidential candidates, the liberals in our party, look upon New Hampshire as their firewall. They know they have to win one of the first three. The candidates that are looking for New Hampshire to save them are those candidates who support Common Core and think that they can get elected because they have a famous dynastic name. Those candidates are the candidates who hug Barack Obama because he showers federal dollars on their state. Those are the candidates who say one thing about illegal immigrants in New Hampshire, and they'll go back to Florida and give a speech in Spanish on Univision in which they say something else, the opposite. All these moderate candidates look to New Hampshire as their firewall. They know that they have to win one of the first three presidential primaries, and they think that New Hampshire is where moderates will win. Are we going to let that happen? We conservatives in New Hampshire can ensure the Republican Party is led by a conservative presidential candidate in 2016. We must not again fall to the prey to the quadrennial head fake that starts off with the establishment Republicans and the liberal media telling us to nominate a moderate so he can win, and ends up having that moderate lose because he cannot draw any significant distinction between himself and the Democrat candidate. We must not vote second guess or compromise our votes in our primary. New Hampshire must not send a Republican candidate who either doesn't have the courage of his convictions or has no convictions into a presidential debate with a Democrat. Let us nominate a candidate with conservative convictions, convictions that match our own. Republicans win when we directly and unapologetically campaign for our philosophy of liberty reflected in limited government and founded on individual sovereignty. Republicans lose when we nominate a rhino.
That's right.
Let's make sure that we win and America wins this upcoming presidential election.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative O'Brien.
Croc TV.